Ladies and gentlemen, they always say that when you marry a good wife, you become very happy. But the moment you marry a bad wife, you end up being a philosopher. And you end up being a philosopher because with a bad wife, your marriage cannot stand the test of times. There is one partner who will always come out to be a philosopher, giving the very ugly sides of the other person. I've taken some little time to listen to the preamble or the introduction of the book by C.S. Duale entitled, For the Record. And I've noted something that this book is not purely Duale's, thought line, like whatever he was thinking. Every context of the book is not specifically Duale's, and there are some external, inputs that have actually come out very weightily to be philosophical in addressing some key issues. And generally, according to Duale's, remarks, last year, I think by November, when he was giving people the smoke, the white smoke, that the book is already done and he's only waiting for 2023 to publish it and to make it, public. He was saying that Ruto is going to get some, part of it where he will express himself. And actually, what has now come into reality is that based on the interpretation that I'm really getting, I've not read the book. I have to be honest, I've not read the book, but I'm getting the preamble and the reviews, how people are really commenting. You remember last year, generally the better part of, the aftermath of the handshake of President Uhuru Kenyatta and Raila Odinga, every time Ruto was asked, yes, sir, please tell us what happened between you and the president, he would generally give the feedback or maybe tell whoever was asking that, why can't you go and ask the president himself? So there was that kind of, fear of revealing exactly what happened. So I wanted to talk about how Ruto cheapened the political narrative. For me, that stood out as the deduction that I made based on how Duale was kind of speaking in that book and even revealing what was in the heart of William Ruto in as far as what happened. But before we do that, in the event you are here for the first time, please give this video a thumbs up. And thank you so much for those who are continuing to subscribe. In fact, I've realized that in this our channel, we have very, very instrumental people. Thank you so much. Those who are commenting, if you look at the comments, they are very heavy. And you guys are just wise, full of wisdom. I'm just in awe. So I will always strive to give you objective analysis. When William Ruto realized that there was no way a comeback would, be made by him to strategically get back the love, the first love that he had with Uhuru Kenyatta, he went into cheapening the political narrative. And by cheapening the political narrative, that is where, he attracted whoever Uhuru Kenyatta, neglected in the first place. And that is why I was listening to Duale and he was saying that in one of the chapters he has written how he was removed from the majority leader position in the National Assembly and it took 22 minutes. So I think he's bringing it out in the 22nd chapter, and that is why he's trying to, metaphorically link the chapter with what happened to him, because according to him, it took 22 minutes for Uhuru to, throw him into the ditch. And after being thrown into the ditch, Ruto was very ready with a cheapened political narrative. So the cheapened political narrative here is that, once Uhuru has disowned you, once you've been thrown into the ditch, definitely Ruto comes up with a wide arm, okay? A wide arm to tell you that, man, we can do this. I have been also thrown and there is no way I can, rekindle this love that we had with the man on top, President Uhuru Kenyatta. So just come, we work. That is exactly what Duale was trying to bring in. So he was thrown out, and instead of going and roaming, being lost in the atmosphere like that, he went and found William Ruto ready with the political narrative and ready to embrace him. So that is one thing. Some of the leaders in Mount Kenya used to reach out to Uhuru, but Uhuru did not give them a listening ear. Like for instance, it appeared to them that the kind of man that Uhuru turned to be in his last term was a man they never expected. Some of the key leaders from Mount Kenya who used to, go and even have some fun with Uhuru Kenyatta, drink with him, have moments of marrying together, nyama choma. It was brought to a halt. In fact, the handshake intensified it. So the moment these leaders could not find any space left, then definitely Ruto had already planned for a cheapened narrative. So the cheapened narrative here is to accommodate everybody. So when Ruto was accommodating everybody, he accommodated them with the narrative that they can actually buy. And so when you listen to Aden Duale's, for the record, it is a cumulative sum of all the records of people who were kind of thrown into the ditch by Uhuru Kenyatta. The moment they had all, formed a faction and described themselves or termed themselves as people who were neglected by President Uhuru Kenyatta, that is the time William Ruto started to use the narratives like, the government we are going to form is a government of everybody, And so coming from the leaders, after ensuring that the leaders bought the cheapened narrative, then he went to the people with this same cheapened narrative. So this cheapened narrative also trickled down to the people, and that is where you could hear him coming up with, the mama mboga, the very common people, because he wanted to accommodate everybody. When leaders who are, are neglected by President Uhuru Kenyatta were going back to the grassroots, and the kind of feedback that they were taking, had more influence in the people. So, people also move with emotions in politics. So that is why they say politics is about emotions. So the cheap narrative, after Ruto had shown them, the love, impressed them, definitely they took it to the people. And now when William Ruto came with, we now want to form the government of everybody, of Mama Mboga, Boda Boda, and everything, then it really sold perfectly well. So when these leaders are now coming to write novels, write books, write stories, write articles, they are writing it because it is something that really happened. And for William Ruto, he kind of appeared to be shrewd. And as fate is having it, it was just his time to run away with the narrative. So running away with the narrative made him to become the president. Now the bigger task here is for him to maintain a balance between having changed and become the president and trying to remain the Ruto that people used to know, such that when 2026 comes, 2027, people will again see him as the man they saw before he became president in 2022, which of course is a very difficult task. And for him, he might not actually manage this. So going forward, people will need to question, people will need to interrogate William Ruto. How will you be managing complex problems? In fact, it is now that people are trying to realize that we needed to have questioned William Ruto. In his cheapened narrative, we needed to have questioned him that, boss, how are you going to solve this, complex scenarios? How are you going to take us through this, apart from just telling us that you are going to form the government with us? And that is the line that Kenya is going. A time is coming when people are going to start questioning him. Are you the real one who told us you are going to incorporate us? But now we have seen you neglecting that. But then, how are you solving this complex problem? Have you read that book? Have you got the introductory part? What have you denoted? I want to hear from you. I want to get your perspective of it. And may we have a great time. I'll see you in the next analysis.